Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I am so glad you're here. Today's date is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. I'd like to give a special thanks to one of my subscribers, Lisa Rodriguez, who gave us today's topic. She noticed last weekend when our 45th president made his famous shift at McDonald's that there was a little focus on salt during that interval. And I've got a clip for that for you to see, but he does make a point of saying that he loves salt and that he threw it over his left shoulder twice, said he was very superstitious. And she was wondering, the viewer was wondering, and it made me wonder, and I thought I'd share all of this curiosity with you, if there's significance to salt that he's hoping that we will pick up on and focus. Now, we are told in the spiritual community that we are being upgraded to a more crystalline body structure, and salt has a crystal structure. Salt has been a valuable commodity for all but the last few decades of humankind's existence. Roman soldiers were paid in salt. And my viewer sent me a link to a YouTube video, which I have in my compilation, which we'll get to in a minute, that talks something about the historic uses of salt, as well as some of those uses which are spiritual in nature, how unhealing in nature. I know that you can put salt on wounds, you can use salt to dry meats, and I frequently take Epsom salt baths, and it's good for your skin, and apparently it's really good for getting rid of any negativity. I know I feel great after I've had a soak in the tub with Epsom salt. So salt has been vilified, and maybe purposely so. You see, if I was wondering if we're supposed to be not, if there's efforts underway to keep us as far away from crystalline structures and structurization of ourselves as possible, wouldn't you want to demonize one of the essential nutrients that has crystalline structure in our diets? Now, I'm not saying eat more salt, but, and I'm definitely not saying eat the brand with the umbrella salt. I've switched to Himalayan salt and sea salt only, and I switch between those two for my salts because I know that table salt, as it's sold in the very economic form in the supermarkets, has been changed. The crystal structure's been messed with. A lot of the nutritional value is gone from it. And so I go with more natural sourcing of my salt. And I would recommend for you to do that too. That's a Laura's View thing. It's worth it. It's worth it. But maybe we don't need to be eating more of it, but maybe we ought to be utilizing it more for health purposes, for food preservation, for spiritual uses. I think there's a very real thought in that that's worth giving some time to. I do. And it does make sense to me with all of the falsehoods we've been told about nutrition over the last few decades. I remember when margarine was supposed to be more healthy than butter, don't you? Now, salt is a big part of high blood pressure and hypertension and things like that, according to the big pharma and medical industry. And again, I'm not saying to eat more, but I thought maybe we ought to be looking at the quality and type of what we consume. And I think there may be something to think about, just that thought of, is limiting our intake of or exposure to such a necessary crystalline part of our being. Does that have something to do with trying to, as I said, keep us from becoming the people we're supposed to be? So, in the last few decades, when the American diet has gotten more and more processed, and I know even around the world, there's more processed foods. Availability has skyrocketed, and the use of salt substitutes, which would have taken a whole video all by itself. I will say this: if you are interested in using salt substitutes, please do your homework. Please do your homework and don't like your kidneys too much. Okay, and So I thought, there may be something to this. I'm going to take you to the compilation. I've rambled on enough. Let's look at what I've got. Then we're going to ask the universe a yes or no question and then get some additional insights and information. Are you ready? Let's go to the share screen. If you're interested in it and you'd like to look at it in closer detail, click on the Facebook link that will be in the video description box. Not that I like Facebook that much, but YouTube likes Facebook. So this is a way I can share things with you without having issues. So here's a picture taken from the video clip of Mr. Trump, our 45th president, tossing some salt over his shoulder. This was the second time he did it. And if you want to see that clip, you can click here on YouTube. This video here I've got. It shows it within the first 30 seconds. Quite honestly, I did not watch the whole clip here. It comes out of, I believe, an Australian news station, so it may be interesting to listen to the whole thing, but I just wanted to see what he had to say and what he did with the salt while he was saying it, just to kind of confirm it. Now, here is the link to the YouTube video that my viewer had pointed out to me. And it's a very good, it's about 29 minutes longer than a lot of the stuff I usually recommend to you, but it's worth your time. And just look at it, salt, talking about how it's been forbidden, and now it's been again kind of demonized in our world of recent decades. So I thought, let's go to a couple of links for you that talk about the benefits of salt. Now, these aren't anything to do with the spiritual realm. They're just 5 reasons why salt is good for you and 20 ways that salt can come to the rescue. So there's a couple articles there for you. Okay. Now, not trying to spoon feed you. Some people don't have time to look things up. Some people really are new to the internet and don't know how to search. And while it was a very simple search and only took me a couple of minutes to come up with those things, I realize I just need to sometimes make things easily accessible for you. And then sometimes it's also nice to know someone said, hey, I read this article. I thought it was pretty good. Or like me with that first link, I only watched the first couple of minutes of it. You're welcome to watch all of it. Or with a second link, it's longer, but it might be worth your time. I thought it really was packed full of good information. So, yeah, that's why I do the compilations and just to kind of source where my curiosities come from with you. Now, let's do that read. First of all, the yes or no element to the question is going to be, was Mr. Trump trying to communicate something about the importance of salt to us with those comments? And we're just going to ask the universe, in addition to that, some insights and information about salt, more than what I've shared with you, which is, to distrust salt substitutes, to distrust some of the highly processed table salt that's available in the grocery store, and uh, consider the fact that our increasingly crystalline structure may actually require some more exposure to crystals, and an easy one is salt. And just the fact that it can be so protective, it can be so healing. And that's not talked about anymore, and I think it should be. I think it should be. So let's see. Again, the yes or no question was Mr. Trump trying to get us to give salt a little bit of attention and maybe prioritize it a little more, plus additional insights and information the universe wants us to know. I'll switch the camera. You can watch me work with the cards and we'll find out together what the universe wants us to know about this topic. Yeah, I thought this was a interesting topic. I'm trying to stay out of the political realm a little bit. I mean, we're touching on it since we are asking if there's a connection to Salt and Mr. Trump's shift at McDonald's, but again, this goes deeper. It goes into health and spirituality and protection and all sorts of other things that salt can be useful for. So, was he telling us to give it a little thought, consideration, and maybe a little prioritize it in our lives a little more? If not for ingesting, but for other purposes, plus additional insights and information the universe wants us to know. Okay, we've got the Two of Wands, coming up frequently in our world these days. We have the Seven of Cups, Eight of Wands, Justice, King of Wands, King of Pentacles, lots of court cards, the Ten of Swords. And I'll get a couple more cards before we're done. As you can see right now, we don't have what I call our hard yes with an ace. So I'm not seeing that I'm seeing some indications that yes, we're getting a nod to there was a double meaning there, and I'll show you that as we go. But so far, no hard yes, but still some information. First of all, I love this Justice card showing up here in right in the center. And our topic was indicated with the Two of Wands, and he's got the world in his hand, he's heading out on a new path. And I think that is a nod to the fact that the crystalline structure of salt is needed by humans. Okay. Not only to have it as part of our diet sparingly, but also to use it more in our world for protective purposes and things like that. So we have a lot of choices on what to use salt for, and we haven't really been, in the last few decades, we haven't been taught about those. How it can, and if you go to that article that I had about the 20 ways salt can come to the rescue, it even talks about how it's a great way to keep your windows from frosting up or defrosting them. It's a way for a fly repellent. Talk about a simple cure for that. So there's lots of uses for salt. You don't have to get into sprinkling it on your windowsills and such for protection unless you choose to. But you need to know that that has been an option that people have pursued for millennia and trusted it. And what harm did it do? None, but it may have kept harm from people, which was what their hope was. Recent past, we've got some lots of events going on. We know that's happening. Our world, besides the political upheavals that are going on and the weaponization of our weather, there's just been a lot of activities going on with solar activity, things like that. There's a lot of stuff going on in our world right now. It's sometimes hard to decide what to focus on. And sometimes that's when you say, hey, I'm going to focus on the simple, okay? Eating healthy foods, getting rest, loving my family, telling people I love them, looking for ways to be kind to people, in simple ways, smile at someone in the grocery store. Sometimes that's what we need to do when there's so much going on. It's because people can be frozen like deer in the headlights when there's too much going on, and we need to always be moving forward and taking some action, but we don't have to act on every impulse and everything that is trying to grab our attention. The Justice card here showing up. I'm thinking that there's a lot of protection aspects to the use of salt that we should be focusing on, that's a big part of our message here with the Justice here. And that, yeah, it's a good shield too for negative energies and those that might have attached to you. Or, and again, healing and health. A lot of benefits to salt, okay? And some of them I have a feeling they were hoping humankind would forget about. Now let's look at the near future. King of Wands. Okay, he's really truthful. He's a good leader. The leadership card, King of Pentacles, showing up as our strongest insight card here, and he is about sovereignty and um, love and taking care of abundance. Okay, and then we have the 10 here of Swords, which is not our strongest insight card. It's our next insight card. But I think what it's saying is there's kind of going to be a death to the misinformation and those food items and products that have been demonized and should not have been. I think that truth is going to keep coming out. I think it's part of the reason that the Justice card is here. So again, it looks like as our world moves forward, okay, learning the health benefits of natural products and unlearning things we were taught that we shouldn't have been taught. I think that's going to be really, really important here. So let's get the two more cards I was talking about. I may get four. We've got the High Priestess, and then we have the Four of Pentacles. Now, when she shows up, she's talking about there's some truth that's really, if you had eyes to see and were willing to peek behind the veil, it's there. So the truth about salt, its benefit, what have you, is not hidden from us, but it's been obscured with bad publicity. And again, here we've got the Four of Pentacles, which talks about, being careful with your resources. Again, this goes back to what I said. I don't want anybody to leave this video thinking I have said start using all the table salt you want on your food products. I'm just saying maybe it's time to look at some of the other uses of it and then look at the quality of what we do ingest, so that it has, the best possible outcome for our health and well-being. So I'm going to get the last two cards. Strength, beautiful card, and Page of Pentacles. So guys, we got some nod here that yeah, this is part of the salt, and the crystalline structure in salt is vital. It's needed. Okay. It's not just part of our personal protection, spiritual protection, health protection. It's something we need to look at very much. And then this card is talking about, again, some truths. So absolutely, we got some truth to what we're saying that, again, we need to take the bad labels off of salt, have a different view of it, and again, not use it to excess, but maybe look at some of the other uses that were that the powers that used to be, we're hoping we would forget about, because such a simple substance to be so protective and so healing is kind of it's very powerful, very powerful. So let's recap. When our 45th president was at McDonald's a few days ago, he made a point of saying how much he loved salt and tossed a couple of pinches across his shoulder because he had spilled some. Said he was very superstitious too. A sharp-eyed viewer wanted to know if there was possibly some communication going on there. That should we be taking a closer look at salt in general? And so I thought, hey, let's ask the cards. And we did. So we were asking, was there a calm going on the part of President Trump about salt when he made those comments? We got kind of a nod to that was, one of his objectives with that. Didn't get a hard yes, just a nod to yeah. And we definitely got some information from the universe that we need to be looking at salt. You see, salt has a crystal structure, and it's only been demonized in the last few decades. And it's essential to our health and well-being to have at least some of it in our system. And and then the type is important too. So we talked a little bit about that. So when we went into the tarot read, we asked for insights and information about salt. I thought it was really interesting that we got a total of 3 major arcanas for this. For such a simple subject, that's a pretty significant number of major arcanas to show up. They included Justice, the High Priestess, who often talks about some hidden information that's very close to coming out, and Strength, which talks about working with love and confidence rather than brute force, and embracing strength, and I think in some cases change is upon us. The card indicating the situation is the Two of Wands, which has been showing up so often. 2 and 3 of Wands talking about how our world is moving into a new era, a new way of being, and the path is kind of cleared out in front of us, and we're just kind of like waiting at the starting gate here for it to happen, aren't we? So salt has, besides uses in our food, it has uses for healing and food preservation and spiritual aspects of it. And over and over again, the cards were saying, yeah, salt is, you've been mistaught about salt for a reason. It is powerful. It is protection. It is useful. And we've been told other things. Think of all the chemical things we've been told to buy, the poisons and things like that. When some salt water repels flies, it's kind of mind-boggling the way we've been taught that up is down and down is up, isn't it? So, hey, I'm in the process of relearning and unlearning a lot of things, and you may be too. Okay. And one of those things is salt. So, as I said, I don't get the name brand, inexpensive supermarket brands anymore. I switch between Himalayan and the sea salt, and careful about where I get that from too. So, anyway. We got the Justice card showed up. We've got, we're going to be able to see that there's lots of options to use salt that's kind of been dismissed. And I think people are going to be embracing it a little more and looking at it a little closer and deeper. The King of Pentacles, okay, talks about, wisdom, and so does the King of Wands, who also showed up. So we had a couple of kings. So we got the wisdom card here, and then the sovereignty and making manifest things you want. So again, if we're wanting to manifest healthier bodies and safer spiritual environments and safer homes and what have you, we need to be doing our homework. And the time of the lives is coming to an end. And just one small thing is salt. That we were told that, how bad it is for our health, and actually it's essential for our health. And as we move into a more crystalline body structure, our exposure to crystals is going to do nothing but increase. Again, I wasn't saying ingest them, but maybe think about doing some of those salt baths, okay? Or look at some of the protective aspects that salt can be used for. And we're going to be stronger and healthier as a result of that if we do. Again, not saying start eating all the salt you want. Just look at the quality, type, and look at other uses for salt that are very useful and valuable and viable in this complicated world we live in. So that's what we got for it. It was kind of interesting. Yeah, salt. And I don't know, we need to look at, I think, anything that has a crystal structure and ask if it's been demonized in recent years. Something to think about. I think a controversial one might be sugar. Sugar has a crystalline structure, but it's a very processed item to get to that crystal structure. So it may be the antithesis of salt. But again, they've told us that, oh, let's use high fructose corn syrup instead of sugar. And when honey ages, it gets a crystalline structure. Still good for you. Nothing wrong with it. Maybe better for you. That'd be something to do a study about. If crystallized sugar, the crystallized honey is better for you than the fresh and free flowing. Something to think about. And there's lots of things like that for us to think about and things to learn and unlearn. Again, complicated world. We're getting a lot of people trying to get our attention and attract our thoughts, and we need to own them and decide where and who and what and how much our attention goes here, there, and everywhere. So I encourage you to do that. As always, think for yourself, manifest the world you want. By the way, little rabbit trail, I voted early today, as Mr. Trump has been encouraging us to do. And as I did so, I made a point of just making sure that I informed the universe, not necessarily the county clerk, that I was participating in this current type of reality where we have elections and things like, but I'm not giving my energy to that paradigm continuing one moment longer than it has to. I hope that makes sense. I'm participating because I want to share my thoughts, my opinion, my vote. I want my vote to matter. I doubt it will, but I want it to. But that doesn't mean I'm consenting to having huge government continue into the never-ending future. Okay? Not at all. We have it now, and since I have to deal with it now, I'm participating in it now, but not giving it any consent to continue 1 minute longer than it needs to. So if you've been debating about whether you're going to participate or not, you might want to think about it, doing it with that kind of perspective. Withholding any consent. I dissent to having this be any kind of an endorsement to behemoth government structures continuing, but I am participating to show my opinion in this current paradigm, which I hope changes very, very soon. Talk about rabbit trails. Okay, that's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time and attention, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, if you're willing to receive it, I send you love, light, and I wish for you everything bright.